truck update every month until the engine dies. In this video, I'll be discussing the maintenance I did on the truck, any modifications that I made, and the miles I drove in the month of June. June was a big month for maintenance. I didn't do a lot of modifications. There were some, but I had 4 separate days that I did stuff on the truck. The first session was on June 2nd. I had the serpentine belt replaced, the idler pulleys, and the tensioner. I was getting I don't know how to describe it. It was almost like there were marbles rolling around under my truck sound, and it was the bearing in the tensioner that was shot. Serpentine belt was probably fine how it was. There weren't any abnormal signs of wear, and the idler pulleys were fine, but I just did it all. And so I had Tardif Mobile Service do that. For the parts, it was about $337.50 for 2 idler pulleys, the tensioner, and the serpentine belt. And then for labor, it was about an hour and a half. And so it was like $217.50. So to get that done was about $554.80, and I could have probably done the labor myself, and that would have saved me, $200, but I was about to pull a trailer down to Pennsylvania, and I was in a bit of a pinch, and having something like that making noise, especially under load, so just got that replaced. All right, then that was June 2nd. On June 15th, I drained and filled the rear differential. It was at about 28,000 miles. I did oil analysis on it the last time I had drained and filled, and the recommendation for Lake was to drain and fill it a little bit sooner. I didn't have time to do an oil sample on this batch, but the oil looked fine. I mean, differentials always are gonna have a lot of metal in them, and they didn't replace the fluid when they did my pinion seal a few months back. And so I just, wanted to get new fluid in there, did that. I replaced the hood latch on the truck. So I made a short about this, but basically what happens is you start getting hood ajar like as a dash light. And so what I did initially, because I didn't want to spend $100 on the latch, was I took the plug out, cleaned it out, and then added some dielectric grease, and that cleared up the light for about a month and a half, and then it came back. And I want to say, I think someone in the comments said it's a short in the sensor or something like that, but of course they don't sell just the sensors, so you have to get the whole latch assembly. I don't know why we have sensors in our hoods now, but I just replaced it, and so yeah, that was, I want to say it was like $90 or $95 for that assembly. And then I also got a new cap for one of my AC charge ports. I've never had the AC in this truck charged, or recharged, I should say. And it was one of those things where I was, again, having the truck worked on, and Liam actually noticed that one of the caps was missing, and it just, it's a pretty cheap part to get. I want to say it's like $2, but it keeps, at least the front one was the one that was missing. It keeps water and dirt and stuff from getting down into your system. So I got another one of those, popped that on. That was, again, on June 15th. The last thing I did, and I'll be making a video on this, I kind of had to do an emergency swap to a different air intake because I've been having issues with the Banks Ram Air, and specifically with dust getting through because of an issue with their manufacturing. Now, I will be posting a video about this very shortly, but if you're a regular viewer of my videos on the channel, basically I'll explain, like, there's a flange that the filter sits on top of in that lower bucket. And what happened, at least with mine, is there was some kind of fault in production, and there wasn't enough lip to hold the filter in place to get a positive seal. And so when you screwed the top on, it was pushing the filter down, and I was basically getting particulate right into my turbo. Like, it wasn't filtering anything. So if you have a Banks Ram Air, go check and make sure you have that flange. I will take a photo of kind of the difference between that and mine, and I'm gonna make a video on this because I feel like, you know, again, not knocking Banks, they sent me a new bucket and everything, but I had to talk to like 3 different people, and they didn't seem super stressed about the fact that their intake was just letting dust into my truck, which again goes without saying, like, I should know better, and it's honestly just my own fault too for buying an aftermarket air intake. Everyone says if you're going to run in dusty conditions, don't buy an aftermarket air box, put the stock one in. I have a stock one, but it's in Colorado, and so I wanted to try the S&B because people really like it, and it's really good fit and finish, and so I actually did put that on because I needed to get the Banks off so my turbo would stop breathing dust. So all these items, the intake, the hood latch, AC cap, and the rear differential, I did on June 15th, and the truck had 264,078 miles. And I did all that, and in total for all those parts, I spent $630.23. All right, third item of maintenance that I did on June 25th, I mounted the Centermatic wheel balancers. So that is those ones that you can put on your hub that's supposed to help balance out your wheels. They worked great, and then I did a tire rotation, and then I got the shimmy again from the BF Goodrich KO3. So, I mean, if you've seen my other video, I did a review on those that I'll link to at the end, but I pretty much ridden them off. Great tire, except for the fact that they're just completely impossible to balance. And, you know, again, I've had to spend probably way more money to keep the tires balanced and make them work well, then I don't know, I just feel dumb, and I probably should have just bought a new set of tires and dumped those. But we're gonna do that this fall. I decided to go with the Falken Wild Peak AT4s for the next tire, so I'll be putting those on in short order. The Centermatics went on, and then my brother Oliver drained and filled the power steering fluid. I do need to make a video on doing this. We were doing a bunch of work on the OBS, and he had a sec, and so I had him do the power steering. You basically have to take the hose off the bottom of it, and it takes me a while to do it, so I usually try to outsource that so I don't have to mess with it and make a huge mess. It makes a huge mess. Like, you're just gonna get fluid everywhere. There's really no easy way to do it, so but I have it on my list to make a video showing how to do that, so we will definitely get to that. So I did both of those things, or Oliver and I did both of those things at 264,842 miles, and the Centermatic wheel balancers and then the fluid I used cost me $278. Nothing on the labor. On June 30th, I changed the oil and the filter, rotated the tires, and greased the front end. So that's kind of my standard go around. That was at 265,326 miles. It cost me $134.64 to do my oil change. That includes the filter. Not terrible if you're just doing it yourself, and I am still testing the Valvoline Platinum Blue 5W40. So, liking that oil. I really haven't tested an oil that I don't like. I know there's a lot of people saying that I should try Mobil stuff next, either Mobil 1 or Mobil Delvac, I think is what people were saying. I will kind of keep working through that. Definitely with where the price of oil is, you know, I was thinking of doing Schaefer's next, and it's hilarious because a gallon of Schaefer's is like $55, or it's a lot of money. And so I'm like, what other cheap oils can I test in this? So I have a current batch of Valvoline in. I need to test one more batch of Valvoline after that, and then I will be switching to another oil. We will see what that is. I think it's probably going to be a budget oil because, again, I don't really feel like shelling out $200 in oil change. But we'll see. Maybe I'll be feeling spendy about that. So that wraps up the maintenance. I spent in the month of June on this vehicle for both maintenance and mods. I spent $1,597.84. Now, obviously there were some mods in there, doing the Centromatic wheel balancers. I did the S&B, the switch to the S&B intake. You know, there's some stuff in there that like probably didn't need to be in there. So I think out of like all of that, maybe essential maintenance was probably closer to like 1,000. But yeah, it's fun. I like tinkering. So that's what we spent. I did my average for the year, and I think I'm at about $500 a month when you average out maintenance and modifications for this year. So not super cheap. You know, if you bought a new truck and had a payment on it, then I don't know. I guess maybe if you're paying for maintenance and you get a maintenance plan, but like I don't have a payment on this thing, so it's just the cost of the maintenance. But it's funny because it's like if you bought a vehicle like this and you put a big enough down payment, you would be paying what I pay for maintenance. I don't know. Maybe people are paying more. I've seen some crazy things with people paying like 10% interest on like an $80,000 truck. And so your payment has to be, I mean, unless you're putting a ton down, you're probably spending at least $1,200 to $1,600 a month for a truck payment, you know, depending on how much you space it out. So I don't know. I guess maybe just paying $600 a month when you think about it like that is, you know, is fine. I think with fuel, with my average commute, I'm spending $500 a month on fuel. But if you buy a new truck, you still have to buy fuel. So I feel like that kind of is a wash. It's really just like, do you keep a truck and maintain it? Do you buy a new truck every 4 years to avoid the repair headaches? And I guess that's what I'm trying to calculate by keeping track of costs, because you know the new trucks have issues too, but my truck is at 268,000, so like it's not a high mileage diesel, but it's getting there. You know, I would say I'll consider it high mileage when I get to like over 400 or maybe over 500. Then anything I am driving after 500, I will have made back my initial investment. So, okay, so currently on the truck, we have 268,632. All right, so with that in mind, that means I drove about 3,812 miles in the month of June, or from June to our last update. Thank you very much for watching this video. I appreciate you being here. I still have my merch store up, and I'll leave a link below, but you can get Powerstroke maintenance shirts. I will, like I mentioned, also be doing a video showing the issue I had with the Banks Ram Air. And again, I don't want, for reasons, well, yeah, for reasons other than me not wanting to get a cease and desist from Banks, but like, the issue with that filter, I'm going to make a video on. I still run other Banks products. I don't really love the way they handled it, but, you know, again, I'm going to make a full video on that. I just recommend if you own their intake, check your intake and make sure the filter is getting a seal. And if you take off your tube that goes from the airbox to your intake manifold, you will be able to see, if you run your finger around, if and when and how much dust is going to be in there. So check that out, please, if you have a Ram Air. But don't panic, and I will try to make another video showing all of this. But again, thank you for being here. Be sure to check the merch store. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next time here on Powerstroke Maintenance. Cheers.